And welcome back to the first part one of the losers tournament on Deathbattle. The losers take all. It was winners take all last time. It was losers take all. I'm restarting this because for some reason, like my computer, I couldn't continue doing the video. I think I had to just. I think what I had to do was get rid of a bunch of videos that I just hadn't deleted yet because maybe I just didn't have enough room. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to restart this. I'll kind of blitz through what I originally did, but just so you know, as you'll notice, I'm here. There are not going to be any images for part one. The reason for that is when I did it the first time around, there were so many combatants in the first part one that I had to actually make two part ones. Part one, round one, part one, round two, part two. That's just too many images, too much. It took too much time to really set it all up. So what I'm going to do is honestly just blitz through the categories the rounds we have lined up. Get one round to one video in one go, and that way it will slim it all down. That way I'll have a much easier time doing actual images next time around. So sorry if you wanted images to really kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. Just use your imagination. But I'm going to speed through the ones I had already gotten through before the video crapped out last time. So Edward Ulrich versus Sindel. I gave that one to Edward. Reason for that, his alchemy gives him far more versatility over Sindel. Her martial arts experience is probably greater, and her sonic voice is probably very dangerous, but his alchemy gives him more of enough of an edge. Ben 10 versus Gray. It ultimately just comes down to the fact that Ben will ultimately use Alien X, and Gray is not a character who can take on Alien X. Leonardo versus the Meta. Leonardo can't get through Meta's armor very easily, if at all. Meta just has too much firepower. Leonardo might be slightly better in combat, but that's about it. And if he can't get through the armor or overpower him physically, then it doesn't matter. So that one goes in the Meta. Lion versus Batman was tricky. I ultimately actually gave it to Batman due to the fact that he has much greater experience, is a better fighter. He has far more versatile tech. While the Eye of Thundera is a very powerful tool, if he can't grab the sword, if he can't keep a hold of his sword, then he's going to have a problem. And I think Batman would key on to the fact that sword is dangerous. Lion-O's physically very powerful, but he's not like a He-Man. Like he is, I think, stronger and more durable than Batman, but not by a huge extent. So that means the fight is pretty evened out. So I do give that actually to Batman. She-Ra versus Zuko, that goes to She-Ra. If Zuko were physically her equal, it would actually go to Zuko in my opinion, because then he's able to counter her physically and throw fire at her face. But no, I went with She-Ra on that. Bomberman versus Jak and Daxter. Too much versatility in Jak and Daxter's side. I went with Bomberman. Tigerzord versus Balrog. It's a giant mech versus a boxer. Tigerzord took that. Sonic versus Jin. Very difficult to deal. Jin would take it if Sonic didn't have his super form. Keep in mind, too, this is normal Sonic, not Archie Sonic. Archie Sonic is actually a separate thing that is on this list. But yeah, normal Sonic ultimately did win, simply, I think, because of the super form. Merle Haggard versus Mario. It's versatility and strength. Mario, as we've seen, is actually extremely powerful. So Mario actually takes that fight. Thor versus Quicksilver. That goes to Thor. Quicksilver could tag him, sure, but ultimately Thor would probably catch him. Doom Guy versus Carnage. That was difficult for me because he's fought and defeated Hell multiple times, but Carnage is very different than most of the things he's gone up against. And a lot of his abilities do target individuals specifically from Hell. So and Carnage is relentless. And his regenerative healing factor, I don't think Doom Guy really actually has anything that can take him down. Remember, we're talking Doom Guy, not Doom Slayer. There is a difference between the two. So, do any lasting damage, what I mean by take him down. So, Carnage, I did give him that fight. I know some Doom fans are going to get on my case for that. Majin Buu versus McGruff. That was Majin Buu. Very obvious. Hulk versus Dragonzord. Again, it's kind of like, it's an opposite with Tigerzord versus Balrog, where the Hulk can literally break universes. So, Hulk takes out Dragonzord without too much difficulty. Miles Morales versus Red Hood. I gave that one to Miles. Red Hood would probably put up a decent fight, but Miles is, again, his webbing, venom shock, super strength, agility, all that. He's too versatile. So I have to go with Miles on that. Doctor Strange versus Renamon. That's Doctor Strange all day, every day. I think no one's going to disagree with that. Jake Long versus Batgirl. That one was a bit difficult. Ultimately, I gave it to Jake as his dragon form gives him higher durability, flight, fire breathing. He does have some magical abilities as well. Batgirl's definitely got an experience advantage and tech advantage, but I think his dragon abilities would just ultimately get the better of her. Daredevil versus Green Arrow. Well, that one I give to Daredevil because his reflexes, his skill as basically like a ninja is more than enough to avoid most of these arrows. The few that would hit probably would be superficial wounds, or he would take a serious wound, not life-threatening, but not instant kill, but life-threatening to get the kill blow in. And Daredevil would most likely try to fight in an area he'd have the advantage in, like the Dark Garage you got in Nightwing versus Daredevil. So that's where I left off before the video for some reason crept out on me. So Riptor versus Glacius. This is actually 2 Killer Instinct fights, which means they both could beat each other depending on who you're playing and how you're playing with. But if you're asking me from what they kind of demonstrate, it's Glacius. Glacius' ice abilities would beat the reptile Riptor. So Glacius wins that fight. Venom versus Zitz the Frog from Battletoads. Venom takes that fight 100%. Zitz is just a guy he's just an anthropomorphic toad. So yeah, I mean he's got some good physicality, and can shapeshift apparently. But Venom can do that far more effectively and is a league stronger physically. So yeah, Venom takes that. Wonder Woman versus Jiraiya. Jiraiya's got versatility on his side, certainly. His ninja skills would definitely pose a bit of a problem. Wonder Woman, though, beats him 100% in physicality and fighting experience. The one catch here is if Jiraiya can get to use the Genjutsu on her, he might pull out a win, but that's to assume that the Genjutsu would even work on Wonder Woman. It's kind of like the Roshi issue. Like, when he did it on Roshi, it worked technically on Roshi, but Roshi's power was so much that he just plowed through Jiraiya. So, yeah. It's like he just kept going. So, I'd go Wonder Woman on that. Starscream versus Ramona Flowers. Starscream is a giant mech. Ramona Flowers definitely got some interesting abilities, but Starscream would vaporize her. Cloud Strike versus Saberwolf. Cloud wins that fight. Saberwolf is just a somewhat sentient werewolf. Cloud is a master swordsman moving at hypersonic speeds, giant F-off buster sword, all that stuff. Was it Materia? Yeah, Cloud would just beat him. He'd beat him down hard. Goku versus Wolverine. I wish Wolverine had gotten a different matchup, but would like to see him make it through one other matchup. But no, Goku would obliterate Wolverine and leave his skeleton behind. And even if Wolverine regenerates from that skeleton, Goku's power is on a universal level, so he would break. I doubt adamantium can survive universal levels of power. So no, Wolverine would be, and Goku could probably just blitz his head off too, and there you go. So Ryu Hayabusa, and before he has it, well, he wouldn't because the adamantium joints. Well, technically yes, but let's be honest, it's still something Goku could probably pull him apart if he needed to. And plus, Goku can just stand up in the air and go. That's technically a victory because Wolverine can't do anything. Ryu Hayabusa versus Nathan Drake. That's Ryu Hayabusa. Trade Ninja versus just an explorer. No, that's Ryu Hayabusa. Luigi versus Sweet Tooth. That one goes to Luigi. Again, like Mario, he's not as strong as Mario, but he can jump higher. But he's definitely still got all the versatility. He's got I think he's got the Thunder Hand. He's got that weird warping ability. Yeah, he's just too odd for Sweet Tooth to really do much against. Captain America versus Frank West. That one goes to Captain America pretty easily, I'd say. Yeah, Frank can make all these weird weapons out of stuff, but Cap is a trained soldier, superhuman, vibranium, adamantium mixed shield. No, Captain America takes that fight. Beast versus Ichigo. Again, I don't think that anyone's going to question that goes completely to Ichigo. Granted, if we're going by the death battle rule, Beast wouldn't even be able to see Ichigo. But for at least in these scenarios, I'm going to let Ichigo at least be seen. But no, still, he moves too fast. His weapon, he can just blast Beast into oblivion. So yeah, no. Then we got Dan Hibiki versus Tifa Lockhart. That goes to Tifa. Dan Hibiki sucks. Urza Scarlet versus the Megas. This one's a bit trickier because we know she can deliver serious sword swings that can blow up mountains and stuff. Well, not mountains, but like fortresses and stuff. Like Zoro was far greater than hers, but still. She might actually be able to take down the Megazord with just because the Megazord also has to be able to. That's with Hulk versus the Dragon Zord. He's small. I mean, compared to Dragon Zord, he's small, but his power speaks for itself. With Balrog versus the Tiger Zord, no, obviously Balrog doesn't have the power to compete, and the Dragon Zord can just blast him. But Urza is speedy, strong, and swift. Megazord actually have to try to find her. And we know she can cut through solid materials like the Megazord's limbs without too much difficulty. As weird as it is, as weird as it is to say, I go Erza on that fight because we've seen her dish out enough fire, physical power to cut large individual things down to size. So yeah, I actually go Erza in that because it would be about the Megazord catching her more than anything else, and her speed alone is enough that no, she'd be able to avoid getting hit by the Megazord if need be. Twilight Sparkle versus Wario. That one I'm going to probably go to Twilight Sparkle simply on the fact that the level of magic Twilight Sparkle possesses and the fact that Wario kind of just sucks. So there you go. That's not fair. Wario's abilities are interesting, and she'd probably be grossed out by the farts, but her magic would put Wario to bed. The Scout versus Namor, it'd go Namor. It's pretty obvious to be Namor. He's physically far more capable than the Scout is. And has far more abilities than the Scout does. Sector versus Bayonetta. I don't think anyone's going to really question that one. That's Bayonetta. She would wreck Sector. Which time her I can't remember the name of her guns, all the weapons she has, plus Madame Butterfly. She'd wreck Sector. Archie Sonic versus Cammy. Again, I don't think anyone's going to question that. Goes to Archie Sonic. Cammy is just human. Archie Sonic has incalculable speed. That's just alone. He survived going through a black hole. He obviously, when you got the Chaos Emeralds, he has wish granting powers. Fate bends to him. All that. Like seriously, nah. It's Archie Sonic. Thanos versus Nightmare. Thanos. That's a pretty easy one. Thanos' ability. Plus, we also got to give, because Deathbattle, we got to give him the Infinity Gauntlet. Oh no, even without the Infinity Gauntlet, he'd wreck Nightmare. He'd just wreck Nightmare. Because he can attack souls and all that stuff too. So yeah, with the Infinity Gauntlet, there's no question. There, Nightmare's done. By the way, even though I do ultimately agree with the outcome for Deathbattle, Darkseid versus Thanos, they really didn't use the Gauntlet effectively. I agree with that. Afro Samurai versus Captain Marvel. I don't believe anyone's going to question that one goes to Captain Marvel. Afro Samurai just can't do the damage it would take to put her down before she goes into binary. And even then, without binary, she would probably take him down without too much difficulty. Ken Masters versus Metal Sonic. That one goes to Metal Sonic. Ken Masters could maybe dish out some damage, but Metal Sonic is too fast, too durable. Can actually use Chaos Control to some degree. Can copy others' abilities and scan. So it's just Metal Sonic just dishes out too much damage, unfortunately. Sailor Galaxia versus Mega Man. You'll note that, as I said in the previous video, we're only using standard Mega Man. And Sailor Galaxia completely trounces standard Mega Man. She does. So, like, her power's on a universal level. No, he can't compete with that. Crash Bandicoot versus Felicia. This is a little bit more difficult just because of how wacky Crash Bandicoot is. I'll be honest. I don't know. I would say Crash is a bit more versatile, but Felicia's a bit more level-headed in terms of a fight. So I would go Crash, but I can see an argument for Felicia. Sigma versus Silver Samurai. Silver Samurai doesn't really have a way to put Sigma down permanently, so Sigma would take that fight. Granted, he's not going to possess Silver Samurai, but he's just going to completely overwhelm Silver Samurai ultimately. Kratos versus Deadpool. That one's going to go to Kratos. He's just too aggressive and vicious for Deadpool. Like, he's just going to keep coming until Deadpool's just limbs. Even though Deadpool will probably survive the fight ultimately, he's still going to ultimately lose the fight. Ganondorf versus Deathstroke, like Wolverine, I wish Deathstroke got a chance to go on one more round. But Ganondorf ultimately would win that fight. His magical abilities and durability just kind of outweighed anything Deathstroke can have. Ragna from BlazBlue versus All Might. That's difficult. Because All Might's durability and super strength definitely holds out better for him in the long haul. If Ragna turns into the Beast, is All Might capable of taking down the Beast? I would probably say no. That All Might cannot take down the actual Beast itself. But I would actually say I'm not confident on that. As it stands, I'm gonna go Ragna, but I'd be open for changing mine. But at least for this one, like again, if I ever do the actual straight death battle or who would win of these two, I'd be up for having my mind changed. Boba Fett versus Shadow, I think that's pretty obvious. Shadow's going to take that fight. Again, chaos control. He's just faster, more durable. He already has more abilities than Boba Fett can handle. So yeah, Shadow's going to take that. Mob Psycho versus Ryu. Ooh, that's a tough one. Ryu's overall abilities do seem to outweigh Mob's in terms of sheer power. And Mob doesn't normally start at 100%, though neither does Ryu. But Mob's psychic abilities would prove a big challenge for Ryu. Ultimately, Ryu will probably end up fighting a final blast. The question is the final blast able to overpower Mob, or does the Mob overpower Ryu's energy? I'm gonna probably lean towards Mob on this one, because the state Ryu would be in when he fires his final shot probably would be not full power. So I'm gonna go Mob on that one. Widowmaker versus Sasuke. I don't think anyone's going to argue that one goes to Sasuke. Ninja, Naruto, there you go. Widowmaker is just an assassin. Johnny Cage versus Rockland. But Widowmaker hits him from a distance, he'll die. He's like, yes, but that's not a death battle. That's not a versus. Hence why, that's what happened in the Black Widow versus Widowmaker. Either of them could have taken the other out from a distance, but guess what? They didn't, because that's not a freaking fight. I hate when people give that argument. It's like, oh, he would just snipe him from a distance. Like, that's not a freaking fight. That's what we're trying to say. That's not a versus. That's just someone sniping you from a distance. That's a story plot point. Now, if they get some distance later on in the fight and do that is different. That is a different scenario. But anyway. So it always bothers the hell out of me. Johnny Cage versus Rock Lee. I'm probably going to go Rock Lee. Johnny Cage is pretty skilled, and he does have the green energy, but that just is okay against people. Rock Lee is a trained ninja, trained all his life, moves at hypersonic speeds, can hit with the force of not like a nuke, but he can hit pretty hard with the gates, not to blow up meteors. So, yeah, Rock Lee takes that fight. Solid Snake versus Raiden. From Mortal Kombat, mind you. That one, unfortunately, for Solid Snake fans, goes to Raiden. He's a god of lightning. He's an elder god. He needs better martial arts. Yeah, that's going to Raiden. Pit versus Terminator. That's because, and let's be clear, it's the T850 model they use, so we're using that model. That is a little tricky. Pit's definitely more versatile, but Terminator's durability is pretty high. And he's got a lot of weapons that he has, including the GAT, shotgun, the laser gun. But I'm tentatively going to say Pit, just because Pit can fly from the get, and he's a bit more versatile overall without needing ammo. So I'm going to go with Pit. Shang Tsung versus the Gundam. Yeah, that's going to a Gundam. Shang Tsung is not powerful enough to take on a 20-some-odd foot tall mech robot. With firepower and laser lightsaber swords. So, no. Harry Potter versus Kakashi is actually a pretty fun one. Like, Harry Potter, a cool one. I would say that goes to Kakashi. Harry Potter is not as experienced as Kakashi. Kakashi is a much more trained fighter and killer. He's got far more versatile with his with his jutsu. Now, sure, if he used the Avada Kedavra, sure, and hit Kakashi, then yeah, Kakashi's dead. That's the killing curse. And there's Sepra, if I said that name right, the one that gives you all the slashes. But Kakashi's a bit more versatile than Harry Potter, certainly. And if he can just, you get that wand out of his hand, then he's screwed. That's the thing. That fight with Luke and Harry Potter, quite frankly, could have ended like this. Force pull. Hey, I got your wand. Snap. When you really break it down, most Harry Potter characters, except for like Dumbledore and Voldemort, like the truly high-powered ones, need a wand to do stuff. If they don't have a wand, they're pretty SOL. And Kakashi is strategic enough to notice that. So, yeah. Zelda versus Knuckles. That one goes to Zelda, I'd imagine. Princess Zelda. Although, Knuckles is a bit more of a capable hand-to-hand fighter. I'd still go Zelda, probably. Pikachu versus Cable, that goes to Cable, no doubt. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, Pikachu might be able to electrocute him, but the guy can absorb energy if he needs to. Or, he has mental abilities that can protect him, shields, all that. M. Bison versus Virgil's a good one. I'd say Virgil wins. Just has a bit more physical strength, and Yamato is a very dangerous weapon. So I would go Virgil in that fight, definitely. Though M. Bison would definitely be a tough opponent, certainly. He's definitely comparable in hand-to-hand combat, though Virgil's regenerative healing factor also is a problem for Bison. Ivy versus Jotaro, that one's going to Jotaro. His stand alone is something she just can't get through. So I'll go Jotaro on that one. Gamera versus Goro. Gamera would stomp Goro. I think most of us would agree on that. Lex Luthor versus Lobo. That's a tricky one. Lobo's regenerative capabilities are kind of through the roof. And his strength is can go toe to toe with Superman. If we're going to suit Luthor to the Lobo, I would probably go Lobo on that. It's more the fact that he just could not put Lobo down for good. He just could not do that. Darth Vader versus Bane. I think that one's pretty obvious. Vader could just hold him up with the Force and slice him down. That's it. Vader takes that fight. Red and Charizard versus Weiss. That goes to Weiss. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she has ice and some time manipulation abilities. Weiss, hold on. I want to look that up real quick. Weiss, Ruby. There you go. Okay, so Weiss Schneen. Schneen. Okay, so Weiss, if I remember correctly, because she's also probably going to aim not just at Charizard, she's probably going to aim at Red too. Just like Ty did, effectively. Was heavily on ricocheting off of either surrounding surfaces with her glyphs. All right, yes. And then her weapon, if I remember correctly, though, she tends to use ice. Dust ice. The revolving chambers consists constantly stocked with red, cyan, purple, and white and yellow blue, dust. Usually in combat. Her semblance allows her to create glyphs that vary, creating platform to skate on high-speed journey, melee platforms, higher trajectory. She gained more control over this summoning. That's right, she can summon avatars. So I mean, it'd be a tough fight. I would lean towards Weiss on that, but again, I wouldn't say I'm 100% confident on that. Shovel Knight versus Genos, that goes to Genos, no problem. Ace versus Gara, that is. See, Ace's fire would be a serious problem because he can seamlessly just turn Gara's sand to glass. But Gara can create enough sand that it might be able to overwhelm him and snuff out his flames. Ooh, that's a good matchup, actually. Ace versus Gara. Ooh. And Gara can include gold dust, which, can melt, but Ace would have to get to some seriously high temperatures. I think Gara... Jesus. I think Gara would ultimately win because I think he'd snuff out his flames. I think that's what he would do. He'd suffocate him. But I can see an argument for him Ace turning all of Gara's sand into glass. I could see that argument, certainly. So I will say Gara, but I will say again, I'm open to having my mind changed about that. And Bowser just happened to get the bye in that matchup. So yeah, that is ultimately my round 1 Blues Tournament bracket picks. Obviously, no images. I'm sorry about that. This time there's just too many fighters. But now that it's slimmed down in round 2, I'll adjust the bracket, and next time I'll have images up. And then I'll have the new bracket up sometime either Tuesday or Wednesday. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Did your first round pick, did I bust any of your brackets so far, or did they actually make it through for your first round bracket? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, who wants to review something, put it in the comments below. Let us know, do a review of it at some point. So thanks for watching. I got my Pokemon team video to do a little later. Gonna set that up. But until then, thanks for watching. See you later.